in their own space. These guys kind of thrive in the shadows of chaos almost. Whenever there's a fight, they're on the wall next to players, but not actually engaging as much. Kind of just take damage and get out. It's really interesting. Kami and Vanyak as well, we saw on day one, amazing performances. All the way from Vanyak almost every single time. The solo legend of you, it feels like. It's the reason they're just relatively high, just outside of the top 10, it looks like, on this day.
Yeah, I think you made the point right where Vanyak's become that guy, right? This is a guy that has like a really funny joke, so everyone always wants him to say the same joke. It's like, hey, Vanyak, man, can you do a solo clutch for us, please? I'm sure we'll get one today. Vexy and Debut, though, they had a really good first day, and they've been a bit quiet so far in this one. But now getting a bit loud, I think getting a bit loud. Debut actually gets taken out there. He does have some hope still in this fight. Needs Siphon, his HP is dwindling, time is ticking. Firebro, though, down on Surge, needs to hit the shot Vexy, but doesn't.
Firebro's there. I mean, for the Bull and Vexy, for me, I understand they're still swimming, they're still moving forward in day two, but it's like a fish caught in a net. Kind of writhing in place, not really going anywhere, still inside the water. Suzy, Shimoki, always staying side by side, looking to see who they can actually target for fights. Do some damage to Savage. But now Surge is kind of coming in, they might have been a bit too passive. Savage finally going down, it was 400 below though, and a player can really only offer you 200 damage, so that's find at least one more.
Yeah, look, you know, they did have like some Surge issues yesterday, right, for sure, but to be 400 down on Surge, Shayo, in game number 9 of day 2, that's not where you want to be if you're the 5th place team. That's the least I can say. They have to do something and fast. They're running out of shields, and you got to think, even if they are able to out-heal this one, you know, going into the later zones, what are they going to do?
It's the unique circumstance of this game. We just have a very central zone. A lot of the times we're watching EU on day 1 and day 2 in these earlier games. So many people are moving all the time. These guys up the shadow of their duos, take pot shots, move to another. When it's a central zone, no one's really moving that much, right? Everyone kind of has that slow type of advantage to be able to play the game. As a result, Swizzy and Shimoki's game style, they find no tags.
Yeah, look, they're going to go down to Surge here. It's inevitable. Maybe before that, though, they can run into a box and just try, hope and pray they can hit 2 back-to-back 200 shots, which isn't going to be possible with the striker they've got. So, yeah, this is a very, very unfortunate game for them, right? Because if they do fall, there are so many teams who are still in this game that are hungry and are rising in the standings. The likes of Pink and Nebs obviously in there, Giras, Chari, Pixie and Delef, they're still in this one.
You can't make a single mistake. We saw what a 70-point lead looks like too. Nothing if you mess up a single game. And that wasn't even a complete disaster. Dennis' reason kind of made it back. They just didn't really get that top 10, top 5. You have to make it deep into that 8th zone. Tripper and Scram actually having control with Helnata and Revs. Swizzy finally down, and they'll be frozen in time. We now look at some of the big names who have already based up in Anvil Square. Verstash and Taysom not want to let anyone pass without a little bit of cost. I'm liking this already, keeping things very low-key as a duo. Waiting for the zone to lock in and going for the next adjustment.
One of the most exciting things about this team, right, to watch and pay attention to is just how active Taysom has been as a fragger, right? Mini Miner alluded to it. It's been a trend we've seen in terms of some of the statistics when it comes to damage being dealt. You look at that team and you expect Merstash to be the one, right? To be the firepower, that cannon almost. Taysom's been in there. He's been carrying that responsibility. And it's been a while since he's had that level of power in a finals lobby like this, as good as he is. So a very, very scary sight for anybody in an endgame.
Although the hammers can play against them too, the one thing that's going for them that I seem to see them utilizing another game now, at least 2 out of 3 on day 2, is that forecast augment. Perfect positioning. The only duo that pulls that zone. They push forward, invest mats from the edge all the way in before anyone else moves. They have to know exactly where the zone locked in, and they're almost basically central. Looks so good.
Thomas and Malibuka get into zone as well now. That's what we're seeing, right? The best players in these good positions. Center third, they pull that 4th zone as well. Easy as you do. Queasy and Vino. You can see here just a quick little refarm just to keep their mats in check. And they're positioned way up to the north here. They'll be hoping the zone pulls up here. Otherwise, if it goes towards that north, they have quite the ways to go.
It's water again for EU, and we saw the issues for materials. When it comes to Surge, so many players are just trying to force these shots, break your walls. Reason landing a few good ones here too. Uncharacteristically a lot lower than usual. By the time we tune in, 300 to 400 is kind of where they're at, moving from point A to point B in the game. Once again, the zone just being so central makes less teams just moving openly. A lot of players have to play the game slower. As a result, I think Surge across the entire board is going to be a lot lower. Squeezing Vino also just be to find some damage fast, and already just one wall open for a split second and shot straight to the head.
And you can already see just preemptively making sure that path towards the south is possible.
Issues for Bevies and Pablo Wingu. Vortex was the Axe Force. Well and alive, that will say a lot for endgame when it comes to high ground control, but looks like it's a desperate fight that these two will go for. Revive of Bevies immediately down, does get Pablo Wingu into just one more space in terms of boxes, but this is just absolutely a cooked situation. Nothing for Pablo to really do. He's up against players that are absolutely stacked in loot and HP. He'll try to get in, but I guess it'll just be a gift for Giras and Chari, who's also, I feel like, might be low on Surge. Maybe that lightning strike was just late on Pablo.
That was the toughest brick wall ever. You pick up the wall and just gets limbed. Zone pulls towards the east, and so still a lot of the lobby yet to make it there.
Thomas, Malabuka, Tayson, Mustache, both two duels will have prime positions on this east side. Will not really have to build, will have so much more to use for the end of the game.
And the good thing is, from where they sit, all these players now flying through. You see Tayson and Mustache set up perfectly here, just to take shots, get their surge threshold even higher. And you can see they're using a bush now as well in this box, so they're so much harder to hit for anybody who even wants to stop and take a moment to look at them.
Janice and Reason also seem to be right beside Thomas, and everyone looking surprisingly good on Surge here. Reason and Janice, the ones who have to kind of hold on to this one now. Tayson and Mustache finally moving in, just takes one little hammer to be adjusted. They're kind of in the lead in terms of knowing the information around who's where, around who just faced up, who looks weak, but Pixie and Della all the way up top, they're the ones to take height first.
And we know they can hold on to it. They know how to play it. They understand how to dominate this layer. Need to be careful though. Can't overpeak. Don't have much shields. And once again, just jumping up and leaving themselves exposed. These are the little things, the small details that go such a long way. And the potential for a high hold now just becomes even more difficult. But fortunately for them, the best height team in the lobby isn't looking too strong themselves in that regard. Queasy and Vino having to use all their remaining shields just to have any sort of decent HP.
With being this far away from zone, that zone slightly going uphill as well. They'll have to use all three hammer charges to get just into that next circle. Banyak, Karmi, they're the ones who were kind of beaming Pixie all the way on high ground. They go all the way down to the ground now. And elect to rotate themselves. Everyone now just on movement, barely even a single shot fired in the sky. Queasy and Fino, I was gonna say they're just trying to rotate in the zone. They just take height.
This is where they want to be. This is where they feel comfortable. Even when things maybe aren't as fruitful when it comes to loot and mats. If they think they have enough to hold it, they will go for it. And there aren't going to be too many contests this game, you'd think, especially with the struggles that Pixie and Della had. Thomas and Malabuka, they've been so consistent here on low ground. I expect to see them continue to just tarp their way on through these zones. Seti and Cammy, who you associate with being a dominant low team, aren't quite able to piece things together. Mustache and Tayson, they find such a big refresh at this stage in the game. That's going to be huge. I wouldn't be too surprised to see them come away with a win now at this stage, as they keep moving through these zones, traveling through all these different layers, all these different elevations. And you're seeing how some teams are struggling with it. If you don't have that hammer, it's so hard.
You won't just have to move, you'll have to climb. The ground's moving up now. Once again, we're getting icy cold, straight to the glaciers. Big long hills, still on Pixie. looking mighty dry. Super high now, find themselves all the way down towards low ground, trying to bully a few boxes, trying to see if they can find anything for the moment, but Surge is really ticking down. Just one shot is what Della needs to land. He finally finds it. 18 below though. It might just net down to 0. 12 above for Della and Pix to get to breathe, but look at the cost. No mats, no chance. Not a problem to live, but will they thrive?
They have to get in a box, you'd think. They need a refresh, even if they deal with their Surge. They're 12 above now. Look at their mats, look at their shields. They need something to save their game. Vino, Queasy's down, and he's moved to the front side of the zone. Actually, not in the back side of the zone. Now trying to move towards the front, and he'll reclaim height. But with his 3 builds, you've got to think at some point this comes to an end.
Look at how low the entire lobby is too. Half this entire zone is going to be on top of a cliff. Everyone now going down. Vino barely makes it. A shotgun shot, a big siphon. He's super healthy, but no mats. Hides. He knows there's barely even anyone here. They're all trapped down below, but he will have to leave the high ground at one point. The safe haven is not going to reign true for so long. He tries to get close and personal with a shot that would have been huge, but it's not going to be possible. Pink right in front of him down below. He has to chase it, but the spray is not going to connect. No match just yet, just a few more to use. 2 builds, how far can he stretch them?
Close but no cigar. So many opportunities there for him, but he can't quite connect to anything. Reason and Janice, they're still in this game. They're lurking in the backside. The zone pool's so generous to them. They don't have the mats to really claim any sort of layer, so they just sit there and wait.
Thomas Alabuka also very active, 6 elims, and I saw Taysom getting a few in the feed, so those high and mighty duos who are looking to take away that first place, they might be getting very close to it here. Mustache and Taysom on the other side of Thomas and Malabuka are just absolutely splitting this low ground apart.
Wow, just wow, claiming space and taking shots to just wipe everybody off these layers. Cammy just dropped right into their box. They need that refresh. Cade now on the other side.
They just have shots left though. That refresh has to come in fast. They do pick up Cammy. Might just be 150 mats. Bing up top looking for a few shots. Seti finally going down, so they split apart. Another duo to share between each other. Thomas not having so many mats, but those will also dwindle. Thomas now getting very close to Tayson. Side by side looking to see who can survive.
A big collision is coming. Thomas and Malabuka against Mustache and Tayson. You've got to think it's coming, but no, Cade, he's going to interrupt it. He takes down Tayson, but Malabuka and Thomas have their own troubles now. They can't stay alive. They will fall. Mustache is still in this one. He hit one big shot there. Takes down Kyrie. He's still in this. A 1v1 now against Ping. There's no way Mustache wins this now. Ping, he needs to farm. He has a couple more mats left. He is able to hold on, but for just how much longer? Mustache has time to heal, and you know he can connect with a big shot. Mustache versus Ping. Everything on this one now. The hammer play to move up. Can't quite connect. Ping can connect. He will take him down. But Mustache, to stay alive for that long, 7 elims in that game. You've got to wonder what that means for them in their pursuit of first place. Ping and Kyrie take the game. But Mustache and Tayson, they might take the standings.
That looks so close for all 3 different teams, right? One team taking max placement. Mustache and Tayson looking to take max elim points off of that one. And Thomas, Malabuka right behind them. You have to be nervous in this spot as Ping as well. Kyrie finally going down. He stops Thomas, a legend in his own right. And then Mustache right after again. Going so close, a game of inches on his aim in terms of landing that shotgun shot. But Ping was there, he held it down, and he wins the game.
And look at Kyrie, so happy to see his teammate close things out. Ping did phenomenally, right? Because so many times this season, we've seen when the player goes up with the shockwave hammer at the end, the player on height not quite able to hold on. He kept his cool, kept his nerve, and he wins the game for his team. That's huge for them, right? Where any difference in points now is going to be massive in terms of as we head into these final games for them in the standings.
Yeah, top 20, top 15 definitely shaken up with Ping and Kyrie escalating through the boards, but that top 4, that top 5-11, so much more to be seen. Frankie, what do we got?
Well, we've got a duo that absolutely smashed it when the heat was on. I honestly thought that Mustache and Tayson were going to do the back-to-back then, but kudos to Ping and Kyrie, because that was such an exciting endgame to Carter.
100%. I mean, it looked like we were going to see a clash of the titans in those final moments when Tayson and Mustache were about to go head-to-head with Malabuka and Thomas HD, but then from the clouds, Kyrie and Ping came out on top. They went into that engagement, took out both duos, and ultimately secured that victory royale. And this now is going to be a huge confidence booster for this duo.
Ping did a really good job here as well to close out his win. He actually holds his floor to ensure that Mustache can't hammer on top of him. Mustache couldn't break those builds because Ping was just saying, you know what, I'm holding this floor, I'm holding him down. And that was ultimately what caused him to get that final clutch 1v1. He did such a great job there. Even these guys, they land at lonely labs. This is such a long rotation for them. So the fact they had this many materials in order order to take height and hold it is impressive.
There does seem to be a recurring theme, though, in these final fights, and that is Thomas, Malabuka, Murstache, and Tayson.
Yeah.
At the moment, I know Queasy and Vino, they're definitely in the frame, so are Janice and Reason, but these two duos, it feels like it's coming down to the wire between the two of them, and you can see it reflected in the standings.
Wow, look at the difference in points. First place for Murstache and Tayson at 467, and Malabuka and Thomas HD at 464. They've dethroned Janice and Reason that are now in the third place spot. The consistency in the late game from these two duos has been incredible.
It really has. They've kind of figured it out. It's all kind of clicked for both of these duos, and this is kind of the top four that we would have typically expected, right? Going into day one, a bit of a shock coming out of day one. We're like, hang on a sec, what is this top three? What's this top four? But now it's kind of back to the top 3 or 4 teams that we've seen this season.
I don't feel like there's a player right now who's hungrier than Thomas to book that spot in the Global Championships. Just look at this performance.
Yeah, these guys picked up another good endgame together. We talked about it so often yesterday and today. We built up the storyline. These guys can't make endgames together. But now, when they do, they pop off. This is two incredible players, and they're showing every reason as to why. They're picking up so many eliminations. When they're on those mid to low ground layers, they are unstoppable.
I mean, you said it yourself, Minnie. They annihilate this lobby. Their opponents, when they're together, they had the early game controlled in the qualifiers, and now it looks like in the second half of Grand Finals, they're starting to control the late game. With the most recent 2 matches we've seen, I know Thomas HD wants to make Denmark proud and take that #1 spot.
We just saw it again with a few pre-edits. That made me so happy when I saw that pre-edit coming through from Malabuka, because it feels like him again. It feels them dominating those mid to low ground layers with pre-edits, going for eliminations, shots. Unbelievable stuff.
Well, I've heard your opinions again and again and again, and you know what? I never get bored of them, but right now I want to check in with Parajuice to find out who he thinks is going to be taking the Axe of Champions. Parajuice, are you enjoying the game so far?
Yes, definitely. I really like to see those plays. I really do.
Yeah, I mean, we're 9 games in, so who do you think is going to be taking it today?
I really wanted to say, like, may the best win, but as of now, Murstache and Tayson are the best. I really have to say that. But I really like to see those plays, you know, like those really creative plays. I really like that.
Yeah, we all love to see it. Now, of course, you're used to having so many eyes on you. Of course, your content viewed by thousands. That's a lot of pressure. And of course, these teams are going to a big pressure moment right here, the final 3 games of the FNCS Grand Finals. How do you think these teams are feeling going into this?
So that's a good question. I think that it's really nervous, but I'm not a competitive player myself. But I would like to say, like, believe in yourself, give it like your 100%, because still everything is possible, as you can see, because #1 is dropping to #3, so everything is still possible.
Anything is possible. And now that we've talked about pressure, I want to know from you, what do you think is the best skill or trait to be a competitive Fortnite player?
Oh, I think focus. That's something I don't really have, because that's why maybe I'm a content creator. I have such a lot of respect for these players that play so many games with full focus on. I think I can do it. I cannot do it.
Well, Parajuice, I've been stalking you on the socials. Can I ask you about a certain tattoo that you've got on your ankle?
Of course.
What does it say?
Well, I can show it. I can show it, definitely. But
Well, hello. Now the Grand Finals is heating up.
It's
You're a noob. It's a noob tattoo.
Is that reflecting your in-game play style?
No. Different opinions on that.
Yeah, and you know what? We've seen you on YouTube. We know you've got the skills, but if anyone hasn't seen you, where can we find you on the socials?
You can find me on YouTube, Instagram, etc. On Parajuice.
Well, thank you ever so much for joining us. Enjoy the rest of the finals.
Thank you very much.
It was fabulous having Parajuice on the
is.
show. I really loved his content.
I think you should get a noob tattoo.
Yeah, I mean, why did you say
Excuse
that? Why did you say that?
Excuse me, you came to my stream the other day. You saw me in Zero Builds. I got 7
That's
elims.
why I mentioned it.
And then I got eliminated myself. All right. We're going to move so swiftly on right now. I can see 11-2K is cracking up. Less of that, please. You've got a grand final to cast as we head swiftly into game number 10.
We are here in the double digits now. It's game time, Shayo. Just 3 games remaining for all of these players to complete Major 1. Who will secure a spot to Globals?
Tayson, Murstache, Thomas, Malabuka, any of the top 4, in my opinion, because now the competition is ever so close. A demanding lead by the Rainers right before. Janus, Reason, absolutely demolished now. It's anyone's game.
Tayson, once again trying to secure himself and remind everyone why he's the greatest of all time. Thomas trying to show the world that he is the one who has finally needed to get that FNCS and really solidify his place in the history books. And for both their teammates, right, Mustache, Malabuka, those guys fought together for so long to try win one. Neither of them could, and now it looks like today one of them will.
It's just insane to think about how things can change in just 3 games, even after an entire day of gameplay. And the fact that we have 3 more means even this team on screen is not done yet. Queasy Vino. We could see some crazy performances that could come right back. But that top 3 at the top 11, I mean, 3-point difference in 3 games. This is it. This is the finals.
This is what Fortnite is all about. For Janus and Reason, though, they'll be trying to remind everyone, look, we're still in this one. We still have a chance, but they need to win this fight here against Pixie and Della.
Every other fight kind of with ego, sitting way back, knowing they can win. I think I need to see some initiative from Janus and Reason. Maybe a little bit of aggression. Finish out some of these engagements early because they're coming back to haunt you towards the later portions of the game. You're affecting each and every rotation you have, every single strat by about 15 to 30 seconds. That difference is showing now as they start to slow down the longer and longer the day goes. Not as impressive, not as big as a lead it looks like from this team compared to day 1.
Yeah, they've not been able to find that rhythm. Of course, they've just not been blessed with the zones that they were in day 1. Of course, that is a big factor. Boaz and Jaggy here off spawn. Again, the same sort of struggles, not quite able to match Marius.
Oh!
And Fred off spawn. It will be once again the Danes winning this one.
Most impressive right now to me is that dynamic duo up top. Mustache Tayson, Malabuka Thomas. It has been fun to see them back-to-back in just games. Not only today, but yesterday as well. They ended the day in the same game. Mustache and Malabuka facing each other. Started it off today and then continue game after game to kind of be in that spot in the business. This is their story, I feel like. These 2 duos, you've hit the nail on the head. One of them will win.
It feels that way, right? And of course, for Janus and Reason, Queasy and Vino, still in this one. A bit behind Giras and Chari as well. Still trying to pull their way on in, but you've got to think it's going to be one of these top 2. And again, we've highlighted it so many times, but Tayson used to play with Thomas. They weren't quite able to win the FNCS. Mustache used to play with Malabuka. They had so many attempts at it and weren't quite able to win the FNCS. So both of these teams will be eager to get the one up over the other, especially Mustache and Malabuka, right? Once you split up from your teammate, right, you want to be the one, hey, I won an FNCS before him. He needed me. He was holding me back from winning the FNCS. I know that's what I would be saying if I was one of them too.
It's really personal. And for both of these 2 teams, the way they're playing is so much fun to watch. Both on the same layer, everyone else falling right between them. And they're kind of looking at each other, absolutely glaring, while hitting perfect shots left to right until they have to face down the barrel again and again and again.
As they stare each other down below, up above, Queasy, Vino watch and wait for a chance to swoop in. Because when we talk about day 2 comebacks, of course, Vino has day 2 in his name, but Queasy, in Chapter 2, put on one of the greatest day 2 comebacks we've ever seen. He is no stranger to surprising the world. And if they're going to keep being on height on all these games and keep dominating, there will come a time where they possibly win another game within these next 3.
Yeah, we just keep highlighting the 2v2 between the top 2 teams. When you talk about Queasy like you are now, it's 2v10. They're not facing just one team. They're not glaring down one barrel. It's everyone else that wants to get high ground. It's Pixie and Della. It's sometimes Chari and Giras as they try to gear up and go towards height all the way towards the 8th, 9th zone. It's Pablo Wingu over and over again. And Bevies are rocking too. Axe Force, Vortexers. All these duels across the weeks and even these 2 final days having issues that Queasy and Vino have been able to solve easily over and over. Not as fast now in this day 2, but we have plenty of more time. It's just game 10. 11 and 12 to come and follow through it after the fact. Bevies, Pablo, the way these guys made it here to the finals is absolute aggression, complete control. instilling fear to everyone they fight and ending fights fast. Unfortunately, what's been happening right now is every fight they do take, they end up taking a bit too much chip damage in trades, and a lot of duels are kind of locked in, playing very defensively, expecting someone to aggress them. They were defying a lot of expectations and diving into boxes unexpectedly in the week 2. Glorious first place finish, a landslide almost on their perspective. They had control of the high seas, the high ground as well. It just hasn't been the case today.
Yeah, and you see, Bro's so locked in. He wants to try and find Vortex. He knows he's running around there somewhere, and once he finally does find him, still not able to connect.
Have to be able to land those shots. A difference of 30 damage can mean the world, especially towards the later portion of the game. The investment from Firebro and Grolls right now, huge. No metal available, half their brick already down. Why? I mean, if you're watching the last 2 games, or watching day 1, the biggest issue so far has just been Storm Surge for this team. Maybe rename from Fire Bro to Lightning Bro, because that's all I've seen on his head every time we tune in to the mid game. Fighting for sure, hitting his shots absolutely. But him and Grolls, I mean, just because of the defensiveness, the nature, the high skill level of this lobby, it's just not easy, or as easy as the Weeks, to be able to win these fights.
Well, that is the difficulty that comes with the FNCS final, right? It's the hardest lobby for Surge there is.
It's good for Pink and Nebs, though. The defensive nature for many duos, the fact that they're not actually going out willy-nilly, actually paying attention to which fights to go for, it gives them room to actually move from the south side to the north side whenever they want to. Lets them dictate when fights start, because every time they get engaged, and I feel like that's where issues start to arise. They're not ready for the fight to really begin. They get to have their eyes active as they move around the field. Della Pixie as well, doing a really good job at just deconstructing duos in their boxes. But that comes at the cost of starting their games comfortably. If they can't find that first fight and finish it well, they don't get to play the game. I see 2 Elims on them now, so they'll have a voice in this one. This Mustache also still going towards the north side of this zone. I don't know how they do it. Every time I watch them, there's like no one else around their path of rotation. Everyone else might be like 4 or 5 duels sticking right beside them. They have so much space in between them and everyone else, no matter where the zone goes.
Similar situation for Janice and Reason here. Plenty of distance between them and the rest of the lobby as they move on into zone. Last game, they had their fair share of struggles with Surge, right? They couldn't quite stay in a comfortable position when it came to dealing damage, or constantly on the outlook for the whole of the end game. And this time round, they're gonna look to trade. Janice does have some shields that he can pop in the reserve, and so maybe it wouldn't be a bad idea to look to go for maybe an ambitious peak.
Tripping and Scram, Refs and Hell. Both duels who have been side by side, kind of rotating and on the same positions in the leaderboard today. Their issue is just finding some type of control. There can only be a certain amount of teams consistent every single game, and it looks like they're barely just making the cutoff from time to time for that. When it comes to teams early and mid-game, though, Taco has a lot more information as to what's going down.
That's right, Shayo. And as far as the early game is concerned, this is a perfect start off for Malabuka and Thomas HD, because they know the battle between first place is just 3-point disparity. So finding that early elimination, securing an early 4 points, and then having the time to just focus on getting the rest of the loot out, rest of the resources, is just going to be an ideal spot for them as they try to push for later on in the game.
They've been so consistent. The early and mid game has not been a problem for them, right? They're able to find Surge, able to put themselves in good spots, good positions. There are no struggles there. You see here, Malabuka maxed out on materials as well. Not necessarily the ideal loadout they would have wanted. I'm sure they would both prefer double hammers. I'm not sure if you'd want the heavy shotgun in inventory. But either way, the setup looks good for them.
Very different game for the majority of players, though. We're moving really deep into the Southwest. We've had this happen once, I believe, on day 1. The zones really do dictate who gets to have that initial control. can really switch up how that leaderboard looks, who gets to allocate all the points. But one thing that is consistent, those top 4 teams already moving early, finding their spots. They will not be strangers to this game. Hoop and Cade also, uncharacteristically, it's the second zone 11, and they're out of Anvil Square.
Rare. Rare things are happening in the last games of the FNCS final. But they don't have the limb, so I assume Mr. Savage and ZX are still alive as well. Frey and Clown. Gonna use that ridge to just rotate past. They can't be seen. Eventually, they are gonna have to pop out on the other side. And Coop knows that, so you'll just wait patiently for them to emerge. And when they do, they use the bush for cover.
There's Savage and ZX. Also moved slightly slower down ways towards the map. Just had that point update go across on screen. This is a very important game for Janus Reason and Queasy and Vino. If they don't do well here, I feel like they might just be lost to the fishes when it comes to keeping up with points with our top 2 Titans who are just going back and forth and have absolute momentum right now in day 2 of the grand finals in Europe. They're a little bit of just a 1-point differential. It's more than 30 after that, it looks like, for the players down below, or at least by the end of this game. You cannot go down. You need to have a very nice showing here. Stay consistent. Charigira is also kind of on that line right after it looks like Queasy and Vino. I've never seen a team that just rocks in. First FNCS, I believe, in total for Gyrus. Looks so good on day 1 and at least hold on to a top 5 slot. Really good positioning on the boards in day 2.
Yeah, it's been slow but steady, right? They've not quite been able to keep up with the pace, but I don't think many people would have expected them to, right? When you're dealing with the greatest Fortnite players of all time who have experienced double-digit amounts of FNCS finals, it's always going to be hard, especially when things are changing in terms of their off-spawn situations from day to day.
Doing a better job, it looks like, of just analyzing where the zone is going and moving forward than the counterparts on the north side as well, Janus and Reason. This will be the ultimate test for them. You mentioned the 2-11. When it comes to south zones, they do not play as well, but they're not gifted that north side. This is like the final exam, it looks like, for Janus and Reason.
Yeah, it's the final test, right? And you said it. If this game isn't quite good enough, the likes of Taste and Mustache, Malabuka, and Thomas are just going to start to build a lead that will just feel so insurmountable. Queasy and Vino deep in the zone against a team that is desperate for surge. Zachary and Ark haven't done any damage this game. 404 below. They will be hungry to win this fight. But Queasy and Vino have to know that, and they have to be patient. And yeah, nicely done.
Okay.
Quick work. Easy work. Not even a doubt in their minds about how that fight was going to end. And some heals and some shields that will be used to be able to get them back up.
Fight was just far enough to where no one's actually hearing it inside the circle. They have their own problems, their own duels to deal with. Reason and Janus almost have their way in. But that was like a team with nothing to lose versus a team with everything to lose there in that fight. I'm really glad it ended super fast. Oh my God. These guys are getting truly tested. Reason and Janus have to move down all the way again. Almost a full max rotate.
And so will Queasy and Vino, right? And they're obviously way behind now after sitting in the zone there for that fight. So for our 3rd and 4th teams, a very, very difficult game. For Malabuka, Thomas, Taste, and Mustache, this is the perfect situation for those teams to start to separate themselves and make it a 2-horse race.
Della Pixie used to having a little bit of breathing room to assess where the best spot is in the zone to go for height. They're also lagging behind. They're not gonna have that chance to stay up. Nebs in pink though. They were born here, raised in these lands. They're looking so fine inside the zone.
Yeah, they're home, right at home, and they're way above on Surge, which hasn't always been something that we've seen from them in these situations where they have home zones, right?
What?
300 above.
2 airdrops for free?
Hey.
Someone's watching.
It's me.
I saw you leave the room. I saw you leave the room and come back.
These are my boys, you know. I gotta help them any way I can. 2 airdrops. Let's see what they gift to them. But either way, this game is setting up to be really nice for them. Probably one of their best setups they've had across these first 2 days.
if they don't turn this into at least a top 3, this might be a crazy blunder, but you don't know where these later zones go. They have control for now, but it could easily just elasticize and swip completely to the other side. And then these guys are playing from behind. Shimoki and Swizzy, it is not business as usual. These guys usually do not go down near these points, and it's just apples that Swizzy can eat. Electing to pop the minis first. These guys have to get moving. Another big cliff in the way, and they can't afford to take any damage here whatsoever. Going above it, did Swizzy make the jump? Has he passed the moat? Is he in the castle? Is the question. Yes, right beside Shimoki. They got one more charge to use. A few teams not picking up on the fact that these guys are lagging behind. And finally, a downward slope. They're almost in. Swizzy will fall, but possibly right next to the boxes where Shimoki can't pick him up. They cannot afford to dwindle any longer, and Shimoki cannot afford to lose his teammate. He has to go for the revive. They only really do well when they're with each other, but a rogue player in zone will take him out. It's Reason who's playing catch-up from the north, and they use so much to get here. This might be a perfect refresh from them, but Shimoki will not give it up for free.
He's still going to stay alive in this game. He still wants to try find something out of it, but they've already been slipping down the leaderboards. Giras actually goes down. That's Shimoki's direct competition in the standings right now. And so maybe that will just be enough of a energy boost to encourage him to stay alive. If those two go down, the longer he stays alive, the more likely they are to reclaim their spot in the top 5. But with no materials, no HP, certainly going to be a tough task.
Perfect for the duo down below that loves to stay hidden. It's Squeezy and Vino up top that are moving through. Tayson should have a free rotation almost, as these guys will make a lot of noise into the next zone. They actually end up moving first. Scram and Tripper have to go to the hammers, start to strike the earth. Debris follows. Scram almost sliding in. Has to just make it past a little bit of a town to get into that safe circle. So many duels electing to go this way though. They're not cutting completely in on that white line, even if they have hammers. Looking to use the lack of sight lines towards the north to just wrap around the bottom, and a few are having successes. Scram and Tripper choose to just hide and hammer right afterwards. They're delayed, but then they also find a path in that exact way. Passive actually moved first from that sight line. Takes a lot of damage. Scram needs to find it too. Now just 100 below. They have to force something here.
Scram and Trippin desperately need to put themselves in a better spot to find them. Podesai was right down their door. That could have actually been the opportunity they needed, but they didn't want to wait for it. They wanted to get to zone quickly. Don't want to be a team to get caught outside. Queasy and Vino down below on Surge. But Queasy coming in clutch with the damage. That's typically what you expect Vino to be the one doing, but Queasy doing it all himself right now.
I like that too. They were kind of using the loudness, the shine of high ground, and the fact that they were over-peaked, so they just aim right below them. Anyone who tried to shoot those guys got shot. So working in tandem with Mixon all the way in the sky. Sherman Trippin almost in a perfect spot now to just keep playing this game, but it's not all just position, it's also damage. They've got none. Need to have just a little bit more here. Can they out-heal the storm?
They probably can for this surge threshold, right? Not many people need to go down. But moving forward, right, that's the concern. They don't even want to wait. They want to go right in, but unfortunately, that's not really going to work out for them. Scram making the players a solo there. Trippin wasn't really in a position to support or help in any way. And that's going to derail their game. Trippin has a clutch situation he has to handle. Doesn't have a hammer. Even as a solo this season with a hammer in your hand, you can make things happen. Trippin doesn't quite have that luxury, but he does have some materials to play around with. Kami and Vanyak, they're still alive together in this game, but for how much longer? That's always the issue with that team. Both being able to stay up together.
Mustache and Tayson also low on that damage threshold. Kind of laying a trap here almost. If they just knew on the other side that Rosnado was there, they could still have a chance to land the shot. Almost trying to box him. Did they get it? No. He goes up top. He's actually in the cone. Mustache sees it, drops him down. On the other side, Tayson's awaiting exactly where Rush could be, but it is Mustache that finds him. It's just a little bit of damage, though. Could be enough. Zone finally locked in. They wait out the surge. They know they're low on it, though. They need to find a lot more if they want to go towards the top 5 for this game.
Yeah, that did cost them quite a bit in terms of their HP, but they are looking back to being healthy again. We saw how much impact a refresh at that stage in the game was for them last time round. It led to them getting 2nd place.
Is Reason still alive? Yes. All the way in a box by himself. Janice just went down. I think these guys tried to get in. Look for an opportunity to maybe just get a few more materials, because Reason has nothing. 1 build left. He's got 1 box. He has to pray a hammer. Player comes right next to him. Someone falls for the trap. Queasy and Vino not near height either. When can they take it? Vino's actually just not here. It's only Queasy.
He's a solo with not many materials, but a hammer still in hand. He's going to use to just sort of run his way on in. Before hammering now, he probably wants to land in this box and try to take Carly out. Oh my goodness. Queasy, there goes that man. He stays alive as well. He won't be taken out. Vanya can't get the trade.
It's just stage 1, though. Has to go for it again. Needs to make miracles a possibility. Gets damage down. Queasy gonna be found to be almost lost in Storm. We go all the way back to Reason. Yes, it was Dark that ends up taking him out. That's 1 team that's not gonna be able to hold on to that top 4. Reason barely keeping his head above water. Needs to keep breathing. He's got no mats either.
And when they figure out he's right above, Nipsey and CZB might just have something to say about it. It doesn't seem like they know, so he will survive for just a couple more seconds before he can hammer his way on out. But just like Queasy, he's probably hoping he can hammer himself in a box. It's actually Malabuka. They're direct competition now, taking them out. And that's a huge find for Malabuka, especially because Tayson, he doesn't have Mustache in this one. He has to play it as a solo.
No stranger to it, though. He's done it many times before. The power that Thomas and Malabuka will have together will be huge. Dilla up top with Pixie. They'll start to shoot down in the rest of the lobby. And it's a flavor we haven't really seen before. So many people adjusted off spawn weeks. Makes completely new players up in the business. Lots of new variables. Thomas Malabuka now still on that low. Way ahead of everyone else. 3 eliminations already. They should hold that 1st place. How far can they stretch the lead?
Here at the front side of zone, they need to start claiming space, because if not, they'll get cut off. It's Pink and Nebs right there in front of them. It's another team above them. It's Ryan and Paco, and now they get taken out from behind. Malabuka all alone. Thomas has fallen, and he doesn't really have much to hold on really in this game.
Has the hammer, has the tools. What can he forge?
And his own pool as well in his favor.
Malabuka versus Tayson. Both side by side. Tayson running low on mats. Both have hammers. Tayson has the first move to get forward. Malabuka, what's he cooking? Mixon already going down. Lost almost to Storm, only 2 builds. Can't make a box! He cannot build at all. Nebs and Pink are his targets. Nothing to mantle to. Straight deep into the Storm. Flopper, and that's the last move he can make. Misses against Pixie. Twice the blunders. Not like this. Malabuka goes down. It's Tayson that takes him out. Taking the lead almost. Just 1 healing with him. It could be anyone's game. Now it's Dila, who's also absolutely eradicated. Chaos on the server as everything goes aflame. Friendly Fields is the location. The entire board changes, but the game's not over yet.
And in all that chaos, there's nobody even sitting above. Pixie and Dilla got taken out and everybody forgot about it. It's Trippin now flying through the skies. He lands, but he needs to start to connect to something because his mats are starting to dwindle. And there are players there, but everybody in absolute shambles. Nobody really finding any bit of control. And this might be the right chance for him to just sort of walk through, sneak up behind, a bigger 100 shot. Needs a bit more. Fred though, really on the defensive now, waiting for him and Marius to find something.
Marius have the control. Marius pushed all the way back in the Storm. Comes right back on a higher layer and follows through the bushes. What can he see? Trapped in a tree. Marius climbs all the way towards the top, but can't find anything. He's lost. He can't see much. Kylie by himself takes out Trippern, and just like that, in a flash, the game is over. Complete chaos in this one in EU.
All around the board, players just knocking each other out of the way. Nobody even having a clue what was going on there for a moment, because every single player desperate, up, down, dropping to low with no match, trying to connect with some sort of a shotgun shot. Marius and Fred at the end, though, were one of the few duos remaining that was able to try and control something. You see them here dancing around the different pieces, dancing around the edits, and connecting with big shots onto Blatcher as well. And you see here in the end, when Kylie thought he had done everything to win it all out, it was Marius and Fred still alive, still waiting to clean him up and winning the game there as well.
Absolutely huge from Marius. That adjustment at the end with the hammer as well. Gets thrown back in, gets to an elevated lair, finds the heat through the bushes where you can't even see. Just his senses, Levin. Everything but sight, the instinct, the state of mind to win that game.
Look, I was talking about Fred and Marius yesterday, and I was saying how much I loved the way Marius and Fred were playing, but Fred in particular was the one shining. I wanted to see more from Marius. That was a lot more, right? Helping his team to win the game. A big, big victory for the Danes.
This is a team that has one of the longest off-spawn fights we've ever seen that stalemates a lot of the time. They win most of it too, right? It takes a while, but that's what's called resilience. 2 days of games and then winning that one out.
Big, big game for that duo. How will that impact the standings? We have Frankie to find out.
Yeah, I cannot wait to see the standings after that one because it was the most chaotic game we've seen so far this weekend. So many of the big names finding themselves in solo situations with no materials. Even Janice and Reason were just finding themselves out on a limb, unable to refresh.
So many of our top teams were left as a solo there, but of course it was Marius and Fred that managed to come out on top. A really, really great performance, as Levin alluded to there. Fred just performing so well yesterday. Marius, one of the best up-and-coming players in Denmark, showing why in this game as well. It's great to see them popping off because they have so much potential to.
Look, we talk a lot about when we're talking about Danish players. Thomas HD is the name that's brought up, but seeing the performance from Marius and Fred here, I mean, I'm loving what they've been capable of doing. But you can really see what stakes are on the line in these matches when Tayson, Merstash, Thomas Malabuka, Queasy Vino, Janice Reason, they're all fighting for their lives, trying to get every last placement point or elimination you can. You know we're getting to those last moments.
It's interesting that how close the skill gap is in terms of mechanical skill and aim and ability between all of the duos in the top 50. And it's moments like those when we really get to see the potential from everyone in the lobby. I was really excited to see Vico making an appearance as well. Been quite a quiet weekend for him so far. But I remember week 1 and 2, this is a multi-eliminator. Unfortunately, I guess the zones haven't been in his favor until this moment.
Yeah, not quite. They're landing at the south side of Slappy Shores, of course. We know how many west zones there have been, but Vico is one of the most fantastic players. I love Vico as well as a person. He's such a funny guy to be around. I met him at Invitational at DreamHack and stuff. He's such a great guy, and I'm happy for them. They're having a better day too. Day number 1, I didn't think they had any points after about 4 games, so it wasn't looking great for them. But Thomas HD, another one of our top teams that is performing well. Even our top 4 teams not actually moving in terms of the leaderboard standings because they all went down at the same time.
They all went down at the same time, but that just makes it that much more intense. It's kind of what you love to see, with 5 points being the difference between first and second place, and closely behind we have Queasy Vino and Janice and Reason. But looking at a bit of the highlights from Thomas HD and Malabuka, you can see that they know what is coming soon. That prize, that first place trophy that they want. Unfortunately, though, Malabuka was unable to connect those last 2 shots that he needed to get that refresh, but hopefully he doesn't take that into the upcoming matches.
And that's the problem with the heavy shotgun, of course. When you do not ADS with it, it does rely on bloom, so it's very, very difficult to hit those shots consistently. We saw that there at the end, of course, Malabuka not connecting at those crucial moments, and unfortunately, that's what caused him to go down, but they'll be happy, sitting pretty in second place, only 5 points behind.
I was about to say those points are looking incredibly close, and, you know, we've got Queasy and we've got Veno. They were in 8th at the end of day 1. They're slowly creeping up on the leaderboard, but they need to have a couple of pop-off games because there's only 2 remaining. But this is a duo that can get it done.
Yeah, it is. And of course, we saw Veno change his name to Veno Day 2. Queasy's actually changed his name today as well. And this is the same name that Queasy had when he won FNCS in Chapter 3, Season 1 with Hen. So what a fantastic promise for this duo. I mean, they're not too far behind. There's still 2 games to go. It's all to play for.
Yes, at the top.
Oh, yeah.
Stash and Tayson. I'm guessing you just
That's
are
exactly what I was
chomping at the
gonna
bit to talk
bring
about
up.
these guys. Takata.
You know I wanted to talk about it. Tayson and Merstash. I mean, Tayson had a rough Chapter 3, but now with this change in playstyle that they've brought into the Grand Finals, playing more consistent, constantly making it to the end game, this is kind of where I want to see Tayson reassert himself of being the GOAT.
The GOAT. He deserves to have it as well because, like, realistically, this season, they haven't been able to sort of find their playstyle. They haven't been able to find their feet, especially with such a huge shift in the meta. It's been tough for them. They haven't really found an identity in the first sort of 3 or 4 weeks. Now they're actually finding that. They're able to play those mid-ground layers well. Tayson clutching up as a solo in so many instances today. It's great to see. And honestly, they do deserve to be in the top spot. 45 eliminations too, by the way, which just trumps any other team.
It's also fun to see Pixie and Della going up the leaderboard in a couple of places because Crazy, you know, having a not the best game they've had so far. We got to see the two of them creeping along that high ground as well. They are the princes of high ground. They're trying to create a new legacy, I guess, up top because they are the new kids on the block when it comes to FNCS Grand Finals. But we haven't seen them convert that into a victory royale yet.
Not quite yet, but they're trying, and you got to commend them for that because they are really trying for that high ground, because high ground wins games. Even in this meta where things are a little bit more different, it really does.
I mean, the Shockwave Hammers have shucking things up a lot in the mid ground, but it still rules true, right? High ground wins games, and with only 2 more games to be played out, it's really important who's going to be able to take it.
Well, thinking about the top 5 right now, who would you say it's going to be?
I don't know why it's in the back of my head, but I'm hearing a Thomas HD in there. I don't know what's going on, but I'm feeling it.
I trust the experience of Tayson. Tayson's been in these situations before. You talk about nerves, you talk about anyone that's a little bit shaky right now. His hands will be stiff. He'll be so smooth with this. It's going to be amazing.
I wonder if a victory royale is on the cards for Thomas and Malabuka, because we've got 2 more games for them to get it done. So will they do it in game number 11?
Thomas and Tayson landing together game after game, right in front of an entire truck that has Chuck Splashes available, a full 100 shield. Malabuka and Mustache right above them, seeing what they can do with a lot of action. Fast forward to year 11, and now we have them on other teams side by side competing on the same layer game after game, 5 points apart from each other, right at that champion spot.
One of the more exciting things about that storyline is always that no matter which team wins, one of them will be crowned FNCS champion for the first time, right? Of course, Tayson, he's a serial winner. He's done it all before. He just wants to add another one to their tally. But for his teammate and for the other team, Malabuka and Thomas, they desperately trying to win that first chip. Who will it be to take it? We have 2 more games left for you. Plenty to follow all across the map as well, not just between the top 2 teams, but everywhere down beneath that as well. So many of these stories we've been following all season long, all wrapping up, coming to a close.
Absolutely, the day 1 absolute blowouts that came through and showed us, wow, you cannot doubt any duo that enters this game. Giras, Cherry, sitting currently in 7th place so far. 6th, 7th place, looking so good on their debut, maintaining that on day 2. Side by side with Swizzy and Shimoki, both coming in from very different situations, very different spots.
Here we go. I feel like this is deja vu here, right? The winners of that last game, Fred and Marius. They've won here off spawn so many times. They start with the 1-man advantage. Saying Cammy taken out in the feed by Nipsey and Season B. Not ideal at all for the invitational winners.
We're seeing really fast, full finishes as well across duos. This might be that game 5, second last game effect 11. Things get spooky.
You're right, things do get spooky in the penultimate game of these FNCS days. Fred and Marius, this is spooky, right? Them not actually closing things out onto Jaggy. Jaggy being able to escape. He doesn't escape. That's not supposed to happen.
And game 1, they prolonged their demise, but eventually ended up going down as a duo. Haven't seen Jaggy rock it as a solo so far.
Hold on a minute. Okay, I was really worried here, right? Because Fulzen and Guden, obviously in this area, the likes of Janice and Reason, Pixie and Della, sorry, are on the lurk. And so seeing them have 2 eliminations made me think, hold on a minute, they've taken somebody out. But no, it was 2 elims onto the Frenchies. You can see these guys are still up and alive. Reason, Janice here, looking towards Breakwater Bay, where Pixie and Della are still trying to loot up. Trading a bit of surge here. Not a favorable trade for Janice at all. Doesn't do any damage.
That was the Chug Keg versus Minis. Janice not going to be able to hold on and all in from the spot. 5-point differential between the first 2 teams. Mustache and Tayson all the way up top. North side Slappy Shores never really had a problem. This time they're going to be able to have that zone 2 and keep it moving. Issue we've seen so far is when people do get zoned, sometimes surge is a problem. Tayson in that last game, barely just above. Was able to really push that game forward. But they have to make sure they're landing these shots in early and mid. Keeping ahead on surge. Thomas Malabuka it might just be that southwestern zone. It's just so hard for teams of any place to really keep up. Zara, Zangi, you're talking about some of the teams we were just introduced to this FNCS. Their flavors, those stories, still matter in that second last game. They can't change their fate. Zara's still in this fight. Looking to take down Clone. Nice wraparound.
Couldn't quite find the back wall, so couldn't completely box him in, but Zara doing a good job of dancing around these fields, ducking and diving.
He's also buy time for Zangi to be able to get all his HP back up, but as Jarko gets in, well, Zara's actually doing the most. He takes one out. Up to Clone now, but all that time he bought for Zangi is going to be enough for him to be able to have a little bit of say in the fight. Clement out of nowhere, though, comes in with the sip toast. It's over.
It's Dark Desi, man. Dark Desi. Don't mess around. He's going to swoop in the darkness.
What is
in the
this fight?
shadows.
Thomas and Gmail looking on a single time we've seen so far in these 2 days, Levin. That someone's near them, popping the trap down.
If they go down here, that could be the FNCS done. That could be their chances of a championship in this major. Completely spoiled. Flixie and cheating could just completely upset everybody in not just Denmark, but in all around the world watching these two rooting for them. They have the pinch set up, but Thomas and Malabuka, they are holding on. Not completely flustered, but they will be surprised at the prospect of fighting here.
And this started because it was a trap set by Flixie all the way on that igloo. We've seen how careful these guys have been when they go in for those chests. Lots of loot there, but at a cost. Now, though, damage has been done. Looks like Flixie's ran through a few more mats they have to build around the defensive structure that Thomas and Malabuka have down below. Still have such a deep resource pool of what they can use.
The slower the fight gets, the more likely you'd think one team disengages. The sinister side of me wants to see them fight, though. Wants to see just chaos, drama. Because I would back Thomas and Malabuka to win, but you never know in these fights. Flixie and cheating, very talented players for sure.
I mean, the longer they delay, the more rotations get in the way as well.
And they leave, they hammer out. They disengage. And so Malabuka and Thomas can breathe. There is still life in this game for them.
The game plan is definitely different, though. It's not going to be the same in terms of tempo at all. Have to recuperate. Have to find a way to get all those mats back as well. We'll tune into Falcon for a little bit, too. Some of the teams towards the bottom side of the board looking to see how much they can affect their destinies. Push up in the standings, get a little bit more money. Jason right next to Vico. They both understand something's going on here. Jason doesn't have to move too much. He's finally found Vico. He's just here for one of these hollow chests. He doesn't want anything to do with Vico because of the stakes that are on the line. He's not going to all in for it at all because of how far split he is as well from his teammate, from Slappy. He's going to move way back, but he's also not going to miss. It might look like Tayson's running, but he's not running.
Yeah, it doesn't want anything to do with it, but I'll, you know, hit a quick 90 shot. Don't mind if I do.
That's better than whatever the heck is in that chest.
Yes, for sure, for sure. Zaka and Ark. Unfortunately, these guys, no matter where they've landed on the map, they've been all over the place. It's almost like they're playing drop spot roulette here, just picking different points on the map to land, but nowhere quite so successful for them.
How bad can this spot be? Let's just choose this random spot next to a cliff. What could happen? Queasy with a pistol. 4 layers above.
Yeah.
Brixie and Della looking really good on this rotation. Very good timing, trying to hook all the way down and then get in. Don't want to lose too much time, though. They're going to start to have a little bit of a jam at this intersection of 3 different duos. On the lowest point of elevation, they have to just be very silent all the way up to Forzen. Della seen, though, all the way up with a hammer. Pixie just has to build, and it's going to be a nice little split. Della goes up again to try to knock him down, but Forzen's connected. Still looking for more. He's getting reckless with it. Almost in the box. Can't really follow through with a shot. Della picks it out on the same side. They kind of lost that firepower from the split. And Andalex. It's Nazy will move. And Della hasn't seen them, though. They were on his screen, but he hasn't seen them. And now half those chug splashes will go to waste as that zone comes in.
That is rough. Oh, and Pixie taking a big chunk of damage as well. This is not ideal at all. for the boys. They don't need this. Not one bit, and not at this stage in the competition either.
Big for the top four. The hold up. JJ doing a glove sheet in the mix. The guys who look like they have 400 HP each. Wrap it up. This is disaster. No team is living here. Della, you do not want to fight these guys. They'll make the fight feel like it lasts 6 years while you take triple the damage. Love Shion fix these walls. Sandwich, chomped at, absolutely eradicated. Oh my God. Looks in the face of demise of absolute elimination and says, I don't care. Shoot again. It's over. 2 duos, 40 seconds.
Wow. It doesn't get much better than that for Glubshy and JJ2. They've not quite had the FNCS Grand Final weekend they would have wanted, but not too bad so far for them. In that time, though, there has been some things we've missed, so we're going to throw it to Tackle to fill us in.
Of course, Levin, and we already saw Tayson and Mustache secure that elim onto Vico, but what happened prior to them trying to even hunt him down in the first place was actually this, just Tayson looking for surge tags, pretty standard and expected gameplay, but at the same time, it's the fact that Mustache being on the low ground, attacking from a different angle, just really seemed to catch Kylie off guard. As soon as they got that knock, they knew they were good to move in, so this team, eliminations, they're trying to secure those points and trying to maintain first place in the leaderboards.
Thank you so much, Taco. It'll be so much easier for them to be able to maintain that lead. The biggest issue they had in that last game, which made things a little bit flimsy for the team, is that surge was really bad. They were right on the line. They did not have a little bit of a soft padding or comfortability with it. All those shots on a Vico and company, all those early game engagements where Tayson just looks like he's on one. It's nuts right now for the team entirely. Really good insight to see how that fight really broke down. Tayson with a few eliminations as well. Gonna up that 5-point lead to a 9-point lead as we enter the later portions of the game. Sanalushi, line it up.
Janice, oh no, caught asleep. Had no clue that anyone was behind him. And that leaves Reason all alone. Anytime I see a replay now at this stage in the game, I'm always gonna be scared because you know it's gonna be something drastic in the way these games are gonna go. And we saw...
Wow. Wow.
Reason.
For seasons, Reason in that position gives us suspense. He prolongs that solo play. Nanoseconds, it's over.
And game by game, it just looks like that FNCS pickaxe is just slipping out of the hands of Janice. He will not be able to hold on.
Man, 6 games of control they had, a run between day 1 and day 2. And now in the penultimate game, the second last one, the last chance to have a say to be in that top 2, because they're just so much higher. They're silenced, muted, suppressed where they are.
And that's 2 big teams falling out of the top 5, 3rd and 5th place, both down. That's great news for Queasy and Veno, who will be hoping to get back into a better position into the top 3 where they're accustomed to being more times this season than not. And for Tayson, Mustache, Malabuka, Thomas, it truly has now become the 2-horse race everybody anticipated. Which one of these teams now will solidify themselves as champions at the end of these next 2 games? Shamoki, Swizzy, they sort of slipped off the standings a bit, but climbing their way back up. But they do have Cade and Coop in their way, who have been a formidable opponent to anybody in this lobby when called upon. You can see Cade just sneaking by here. A bit of teamwork as Coop just runs his way on in, rams his way in with the bow. And I don't think they were ready for it. Shamoki now on the back wall, and pressure's being applied. His Swizzy's already fallen. Shamoki now in a 1v2. I don't think he even knows what's really just happened in front of him.
Cade owns the ramp, but on the other side, Shamoki owns all the walls. They've done the damage they needed to do. Shamoki needs Swizzy alive to have that good game, and that's not going to be the case anymore. No more reboots available either. There's no chance this duo goes the distance anymore, but Shamoki can't get revenge inside this fight. Big shot on the Coop. He's still holding on, And these guys haven't done enough damage to stay above Surge. Coop down. 1v1 for Shimoki. Every shot matters. And he makes it count. They stop absolute destruction in terms of their chances at staying on the boards. But how long can Shimoki last?
That is the question we will be following all throughout this game. Can Shimoki outlast
Whoa, hold up.
Malabuka?
What is going on?
Well, you know what's going on. It's all back to the start of the game. The fight that just slowed down all their progress. And now they're here struggling barely in the zone, barely above Surge. And not looking like a team that's going to hold on to first place.
Look at this, sending Thomas all the way through, and he slides right in! What a play! While he's getting hit by Surge, and he turns around 180 and continues the fight, they win it. Almost back in the game. The best part about this, forget the inventory, right? He has the hammer. The mats are looking really good.
A lot better. Hitler, 30 seconds before.
Let's go!
Brilliant.
Thomas
That is
Malabuka instantly, they chase it! Right click, left click, combination. A bounce to a slam. They know one player's weak to have to act fast. Chuck Splash is now being thrown. The advantage leaving. If they have zone is the question. I'm not sure if they do in this position. It's Vortex and Belusi, a team that does not go down easy.
Thomas and Malabuka, they refuse to lose. They refuse to be out of this race. Battling, hustling, fighting. And just holding. They have the position now ahead of these guys to hold them in. Vortex and Belusi will be very aggressive in trying to make them pay for it. But both those teams just running away now.
What a dynamic display of skill. Maintaining distance from the zone, landing pressurized shots, going for almost a 1v2 all in. But straight up just switching the gameplay. Defensive boxing, going straight into another fight, ignoring and moving. Lucia versus Queasy and Vino to stay inside that top four. To really climb all the way back up to the top two. Queasy and Vino need this game, and they're gifted another two-piece. The issue so far from zone, and it's getting further away.
And we know this game has to be a good one for them. Janice and Reason are down. That's the third place team. These guys were in fourth. They need a big game to overtake them. And even with all our top teams struggling, look who's looking nice and comfortable, sitting pretty. Another slappy zone. This is the exact type of circumstances that led to them winning a game. And we're here again. A bigger limb. Mustache and Tayson are ready.
I still see a little bit of trouble when it just comes to Surge. 122 above. It's just not enough for them to be able to do whatever they want to do. They have to stay on the story of just trying to find damage. They can't work for the high ground position, and unfortunately, Mustache can't land the shots. Onto Grills or Fire Bro. They're isolated, lots of trees in the way. They have specific duels they can target, but now they know they're there. Vortex Belusi make it all the way in. This is where we last saw Thomas and Malabuka. They're fine on the left side, but we also know they're low on Surge.
And for Vortex and Belusi, they pick up Swizzy, the solo. Unfortunately for them, that's going to be the end. But for Vortex and Belusi, they have not a far distance to be able to get to zone. One Shockwave Hammer away from just being on the edge.
They can find their way all the way into the top 15. This could be a big game for them to climb high in the rankings and get some more money. Scram Tripper, same thing. Second last game with so many big names out in front of you. This is some of the most we've seen of the top 15, top 5 just not in the game. A lot of players can make complete changes in the standings, not just at the top, but mostly in the middle. Left CJ2 being stopped by the pressure. Charigiras still just calm, by themselves, composed. And so far ahead in Surge, that is really impressive.
Far ahead, but not comfortable by any means. They still need to do a bit of damage, and so they'll be opportunist in their approach. Vino, in the back of his tarp, very, very close by. Marius.
167 to 90 above.
Yeah, it's not ideal at all where they sit with Storm Surge. And not ideal at all for Thomas and Malabuka this game, but they've made things work. They find the body, they pick up another limb. That's gonna be Vortex that gets taken out. We saw them fighting Vortex and Belusi earlier, right? So a bit of revenge now coming through Another team rolling up. They're not together. They need to be careful. That's Pachawa. Comeback causing them some issues.
Bodies in boxes.
Wow.
People keep fighting. Stories possibly ending. Pages of books torn apart. Never making it to the end. 286 above. This is exactly what Thomas and Malabuka need. They get to read on to another chapter. In the distance, you can see Tayson, who has that 1 point advantage up inside the lead. So close to zone, though. Thomas and Malabuka have the time. A refresh here would be huge, too. Able to gain all those mats, really play the game out. Vino and Queasy, another airdrop. Launchpad to possibly use, but they'll have to give something up. Vino, Alexa just pop that slurp. Thomas and Malabuka have to be very careful. Every duo around them, I think, is at least almost 50 damage down on Surge. They're ready to pounce.
It is so close between those top two teams that they can't afford to slip up. The elims alone have pushed them back into first place, right? But if they were to go down at some point, it'd be not too long before Mustache and Tayson usurp them again. Kyrie and Ping having some struggles that Vino and Queasy will take advantage of. They push their way in and they roll them over, but it's not done yet. It's Fireboat coming in. That leaves Vino with one situation alone to get out of that box. He's not with Queasy either. They need to regroup.
Most important game for Vino and Queasy, 90 points behind. If they want to win this FNCS, this has to be the game. Need a stellar performance and they'll go right above their opponents. Thomas Malabuka straight towards the top, they're gonna take it. Vino doesn't care, and he's up in the sky just like that.
It's them chili tugs. That extra bit of speed allows him to just run up the side, almost unnoticed. Rifkin Flow that couldn't react in time.
It's not going to be enough to win the game. It's not going to be enough to have height. They need to have as many eliminations as possible. This has to be in the double digits from that team up top to try to be able to catch up to Mustache, Tayson, and Thomas and Malabuka all the way down below. A few teams are already falling. Nev's also trying to elevate from that top 5 even farther. Or that top 10 into the top 5. Excuse me, Thomas HD and Malabuka, though. Just have to make the right decisions. Just have to play it safe for a few zones.
Shockwave hammer will allow them to get towards zone. One bounce, two bouncing in. A better position, up elevated. And now looking at everybody else. Vino, Queasy, gliding their way through the skies, picking out where exactly they'll start their height base from. And now that they found it, a couple 90s will only be the difference between getting up. Vino, though, so aggressive, so hungry. They're not even going for high right now, they're going for this. And yeah, they'll find it onto Marius. That is huge. The mats are going to do wonders for them as they move on throughout this endgame. Tayson and Mustache need something like that themselves as they start to plan their next move. Hammer in and straight down low.
350 Surge to work with. They have so much breathing room. Just need to let the game end itself almost. Thomas HD also in similar positions, but he's landing big shots like he needs it. A pixel shown, and he claims it. Thomas to Giras down, and both of them still safe and sound. Walked off on the front box. They choose to just use the hammers and get straight out.
It was Mustache and Tayson right in front of them, but they hammered out of the way. The top two teams clashing here in this endgame once again, but up above, Queasy and Vino in their own battle for height. They're trying to take it, but it's Trexer and Asa that are giving them problems.
Trexer completely deleted as Asa takes down Queasy. All up to Vino now, and he needs a lot of eliminations to keep this up towards the top 2.
You can see Tayson and Mustache down below claiming space. Thomas and Malabuka in the backside. They need to try and find something as well as they move on forward. That hammer's going to get them there. And once again, they might walk right into the path of Mustache and Tayson. Big shots connecting, big shots flying, but Tayson needs a refresh. Mustache has gone down. Another game where Tayson has to clutch up.
They'll wait for the next shot. Silence all around him. Wood builds can be seen. 2 more charges of the hammers. All he really has. No builds. 0. Just bullets. Just anger. Just that gene. It's the clutch. The tracking. Can't follow. It belongs. It's Tayson. It's a guarantee. And he's got so many mats now. Up above. He can find a way to just clear his mind. Breathe some air. Calm himself down. He's got a chance to play the game. Vino in similar spots. His last box, one more match, and he's left out to the fray. Finds one, 180. Can he confirm it? Straight up to the skies, has to do it all over again. Waiting for it, Thomas down, Malabuka gone. This might be Tayson's moment. Vino, we'll tune in with him in just a minute. This is huge from Tayson. All points from here on out. It's a lead he can keep pushing forward for. A very winnable game. 2 more boxes left, straight to the front side of zone. He has the 1v1, wrapped around, piece control! Denied! Denied by Asa!
But he survived his biggest competition. Malabuka and Thomas went down, and so he might have just done enough. For the rest of the lobby though, after all the goats in this one have fallen, they now battle for their spot in the standings. Desi, Dark Desi, he's been real darkness in this game for limbs. He's been a menace to any team that gives him the opening, but with just one build sitting here on this code, he needs to go absolutely huge. Rifty in a very similar spot. Flodex is in there, a big code onto Desi, 140 connects, and he takes him out.
Absolutely active with the aim. Rifty by himself now. That ball down below, but it's Glubshi and JJ2. Ever so resilient, so powerful. You can't knock them off this spot. That ball finally down, Rifty. His breathing room is a distraction. He takes it out himself to guarantee the points. JJ2 just has one task ahead of him. Take Rifty down. Nice options, but claim back fast from JJ2. His teammate may be up top, just playing for that heal game, dropping down below. It's Glubshi that wraps it up. Valiant effort from Rifty, but what a shift in the middle of the standings. What a game by JJ2, pushing the mid-game storm, pushing the end game, surviving waves of just damage, crashes, everything that the GOATs couldn't live through, right?
Look, JJ2, Glubshi, they were a team that was outside, right, in that 20th place area. And this win is huge for them in these final moments. They push their way up, they take out some of the best players in all of this competition. And we saw them win games in the qualifier, and they do it here now in the FNCS final. A big win, and the timing of it so key to their chances of moving up in the standings.
It's a perfect game plan for this team. All they need to do now is have a game just like that once again, when the pressure is highest for everyone else, when they're playing with their backs against the walls. You run in that field free. You get to choose what you want to do, and the control they had this game, I haven't seen that in any of the others they played. What a combo from Glubshi at the end. Him and JJ2, stellar performance.
And look, it started from way early in that game, right? We saw them rolling in, taking down 2 teams in a matter of 10 seconds. They were clearly feeling it. They were on a roll and they win the game. But Shayo, the standings, what are they going to look like? Tayson solo clutching, Malabuka and Thomas surviving, but going down before him. I don't know what to expect.
Even for the people in the middle of the pack, right? Like JJ2, like Nebs as well, who's trying to find his way all the way up. They survived a lot longer. It's messy. We need Frankie. We need the analyst. What do we got going on?
I don't know what we've got going on. It's so crazy. The anticipation is so high as we only have one more game before we crown our first major champions of the year. And it was fantastic in that game to see the usual players making it to the final circle, but also the return of Glubshi and JJ2, because they won game 5 yesterday. Now they're picking up game number 11. They're definitely a duo to watch in the future.
Yeah, they really are. And coming into this, we said that this is a top-tier duo that have so much potential, and they showed it. As Shio and Levin mentioned, they picked up early eliminations, which just set them up for success for later on in the game. Took high ground at the perfect moment as well. When high ground was a little bit messy, we saw Queasy and Benno getting fought for it, and they just took it, and just took it so well. Perfect way of playing this game.
Clean high ground execution, clean victory royale. It's what you love to see from JJ2 and Glubshi. The back-to-back game 5 VRs from this duo. You know they're going to be excited going into game 12, the last match of the day, but there's some storylines that I want to hit on as well with Thomas HD and Malabuka alongside Tayson and Merstash. These two duos, the battle, it's going to be insane.
It's going to be insane. This is really where it starts to heat up, because this is the final game of the day, of the weekend, of the season. It's all building up to this, and Frankie, this is the standings.
This is the standings, and just take a look at the points. 563, 560. I mean, Janice and Reason, they still could maybe come in with an upset, but to be honest, it's now pretty much a 2-horse race.
You think so, but this is Fortnite.
This is Fortnite.
Is FNCS. Anything can happen realistically. I mean, Janice and Reason need both Malabuka and Mustash's teams to have poor performances in order to get a big, maybe 100+ point game. So it's not completely out of the question mathematically. Realistically, with the way that Malabuka and Thomas and Mustache and Tayson are playing, they shouldn't have any issues in making it endgame.
Look, it's not out of the question, but when we're comparing these two duos, what I find interesting is that the player that Thomas HD has eliminated the most in FNCS finals is Tayson, and the player that Merstash, Tayson's duo, has eliminated the most in FNCSs is Thomas HD.
Wow.
So these duos have had a long rivalry in Fortnite competitions, and now with us getting into the final match, the excitement, their nerves are at an all-time high with both duos being neck to neck. I don't know who's gonna take it.
It's going to be intense. I mean, the way that Thomas HD and Malibuca played this, they were just W king everyone. They needed the surge damage. They needed to take those fights on. And again, they made it to endgame as a duo. Of course, they would have liked to have made it a little bit further. This, by the way, beautiful shot from Thomas HD. 190 onto Giras, got them a crucial refresh to keep them going. But ultimately, it wasn't quite enough to fend off the rest of the teams. But of course, they did go down in a similar sort of time as Tayson did. But again, Tayson clutching up as a solo. These guys didn't do so well. Maybe it's enough to bring them back.
If you think back earlier in the season about this duo, Thomas and Malibuca, we constantly talked about the fact they were fantastic in the early and the mid game. They managed to get through to the final few phases, but they were not popping off. They were always shy on the elimination side. Even yesterday, they had quite a quiet game in terms of those elims, and now today they know exactly what they need to do, and Thomas is really performing. Meanwhile, Merstash and Tayson, it's kind of what we expect them to have, that well-rounded game.
It is, but it's also different to what we've seen from them throughout the qualifiers and throughout the rest of the season. They're not having big pop-off games as we've seen in the past. They're actually going a lot more consistent. I think this is definitely due to the zones, of course, being a little bit more in their favor today, but they're definitely just playing out these consistency, and all of the credit here has to go to Tayson. Huge shots. This was a crucial refresh. Just got him continuing through this end game, and just Tayson clutching up as a solo so often today to Carter. It's beautiful to see.
Look, Tayson has been fragging out, right?
Yeah.
He knows what's on the line, and throughout the qualifiers, you said it yourself, they were playing consistent, but not with as many eliminations as they've been getting in these final matches.
Can we talk about the history as well between this top two duos as well? Merstash and Malibuca used to play together, and Tayson and Thomas used to play together, and now potentially both of these duos could book a spot in the Global Championships.
And what's even more interesting as well is Merstash and Malibuca also played with Tayson in a few trio cups at the end of last chapter, so they've all started to mix and match together. They'll know each other very well. They'll know each other's play styles, so maybe we'll see a little bit of that towards the end. Who's going to come out on top? Who's the better duo? We'll have to see.
Who's going to be the duo? Look, I love what you said, Frankie. Remember, 2 spots are for grabs in the Global Championship for the finals here of EU. So if Merstash and Tayson and Thomas HD and Malibuca end up first and second place, they're going to be going to the Global Championship.
I wonder how friendly this rivalry is feeling now as they're queuing up in the lobby. Because this is the game where we're going to find out who's going to be lifting that axe of champions, who is going to be swishing it around in major number 2 in-game. I think you've probably seen it on the wall behind us. It's beautiful, it's prismatic, and it means that you are the best in Europe. Who do you think, though, is the best in Europe after these games?
Look, I want to see Thomas HD take it. He is from Denmark, and with the Global Championships being held in Denmark, I want to see him take it home.
Tayson, add another crown to your collection. I'm sure he can do it.
Interesting. I'm not going to be biased at all because that is my privilege as the host. I don't have to pick favorites, but right now, if I had to pick a favorite, it will be either of you two boys. We'll decide on that one later because there's no time to decide anything now except who is going to be our first major champion of the year. This is the decider, game number 12.
Welcome to the finale of Major 1 in Europe. 5 weeks of grueling competition, and we're here right now with 2 teams in the top spot, basically already going to the Globals 11. But who's winning that crown here today?
Who will it be? We are hopping right into game number 12. There are no more opportunities to solidify your legacy in this season. It has to be done now. It has to be done here. We're starting at Slappy Shores with the bus. Tayson and Merstash will be some of the first to land, but will they be the last ones standing at the end of this game? Will they be the ones to hold the Axe of Champions? That is the plan, at least. They've been so consistent throughout this competition, throughout this day in particular. They've had their ups and downs this season, Shayo, but when it mattered the most, they've stepped up.
At a cost, it looks like, too, the fatigue might start to set in for either one of these teams, having to play almost double time in each of these games compared to all the other duos, the surge problems we're seeing off rip. the fights they have to go through over and over again. Malibuca, Thomas, Tayson, Mustache, this is about to be insane.
And look, it's game number 12, right? And all season long, everybody's been going, look, they land at the spot of the most oath-bound chest. Malibuca's just getting hammers out of regular chest. He doesn't even need the oath-bound chest to get the hammers. That's the magic touch, and maybe that's the difference maker in today's final game.
Looking at previous throne holders of just the experience we've been watching today. Raisin Janice in third place, almost now 100 points behind the top two competitors. They want to hold on to that spot. Catching up, it'll be absolutely drastic, has to be miraculous, and those two teams must go down. We're not gonna talk about that reality too much here today. We're focused on mainly that top two fight, but for them, we can't ignore, Levin, that they were in the lead for a majority of this competition.
Yeah, they sat at first place coming into day 2, 70-point lead. And look, even though they probably will not be finishing in the top 2, still should be proud of the season they've had. Not many people, expected them to be a top 5 team in this competition. The ups and downs, landing at a new POI for the finals. There were plenty of things that weren't quite in their favor. But yet, once again, Jan is showing us why he is one of the greats of this game, making things work, even when they shouldn't.
And now, for the top two teams, it's basically tied at this point. The differential doesn't matter too much if it's 2 or 3 points. If it's just one elimination. Janice Reason not done yet. Kind of have the zone that they won a lot of games at and have that control. Complete north side. Reason actually moving forward first. Initiative here once more. Always on the back wall. They're looking for chances to maybe strike a little bit, punch and weave, dodge backwards, play on the ropes. This time, throwing haymakers as Janice lands on the beach, forcing his opponents to elevate, looking for replaces on the walls. Hammers going all the way up as well. It's messy inside this fight. Risen and Janice have nothing to lose now, forcing it. And what a nice flick from Janice. Finishing that one. It's just Boaz left now.
Yeah, Jaggy and Boaz, we've seen them struggle off spawn all throughout the 12 games. And here in game 12, they've picked a different spot to land at, and once again, it's just not working out for them. It is their first taste of the FNCS finals, and so hopefully we'll see them come back stronger in further majors. But as for Major 1, it has not been theirs. Boaz will finally fall at the hands of Pixie. Of all the places to get involved in the fight, I don't think this Breakwater Bay area was the one. To be honest, we've seen how intense it's been here between the likes of Pixie and Della, Janice, Reason, and the many others in this area.
As we zone in back towards that top two, the biggest issue for Thomas and Malibuca now has been their rotation path absolutely interrupted with so many teams. People setting traps inside igloos. Thomas doesn't care though. It's just one game of surprises, and after that, it's a matter of fact, it's business as usual. Him looking at players, taking shots, landing big beams.
And this game means everything for Thomas HD. For the past 3 years of competitive Fortnite, you could easily argue he has been a top 3 player in the world. And he just hasn't quite been able to win the championship. And a lot of the time you ask people, okay, Levin, why hasn't he? What's been the factor for him not doing it? And there really isn't an answer a lot of the times, right? On all the teams he's played on, you typically consider him the best player. This might be the only team he's ever been on where he's not considered that because of how good Malibuca is. He doesn't fold, he doesn't choke. But here in this last game, it has to be the one. It has to be his moment. He has to have the game of his life.
And who's he up against? Former teammate Tayson. The history these two have, the opponents they've taken down. It's been Mustache and Malibuca at times.
It has been. It really has been. Foes turn to friends, and friends turn to foes for both of these teams. Tayson, so many championships to his name already. What would another one really mean to him? For some people, you might think, he doesn't really care. It's Tayson, he's won it all. But no, it's been so many seasons now. I was used to a time where every other season he's winning the championship. Chapter 3 wasn't quite able to grasp it.
And with Chapter 3 as well, there's people. I mean, he had a good Chapter 11, right? Second, third overall. one season of a little bit of error. You see the throne people put him on. They say he has a horrible chapter.
That's what people expect from Tayson. They expect championships or nothing. And so when he doesn't win them, it's a bad season for him. A lot of people don't know that in those seasons in Chapter 3, he wasn't working hard enough. He wasn't putting as much time into practice.
Hold up, and he's still getting seconds and thirds.
He was still doing well in plenty of competitions, but this season, this major, Shayo, he has been working harder than ever. Going back to his roots, working with BloodX, who was the coach that helped him way back in his early days when he rose to the top. And things are finally starting to click. This might be the time for Ark and Zaka in this fight against Pixie and Della. They finally actually won it out. Ark and Zaka, they've had so many struggles all season long, all session long, I should say. But finally winning against a team that's been so strong in this Breakwater Bay area. And look how they did it. Sneaking up. Pixie had no clue. The Excalibur. 200-0 in a splash. And Della stood no chance after that.
Oh, they'll be up against Janice and Reason in just a second. What I'm seeing from a bunch of these teams is that they understand now how these finals work. You can't just play on that consistency, chill out and let that game 6 kind of ride. You have to take things into your own hands. I think the only two teams that'll be playing kind of wary and cautious, one of them on your screen, Merstash and Tayson. Damage taken, and that should be scary because Frey and Clownsky have nothing to lose. Full shield pop, they know what they're dealing with. They can still really go all in for this fight at any moment.
There's nothing scarier than a player with nothing to lose. Merstash and Tayson have to stay alert. You cannot fumble. You cannot trip at the last hurdle. That's the kind of thing that sticks on your legacy forever. Nobody forgets it. Unfortunately for Janice and Reason, what was once looking like a brilliant story of a repeat championship for Janice and a chance for Reason to show he's still one of the top German players has turned into a game where Reason now is on the run. How many players? There were a bunch of players at Breakwater, but even here in this last game, it feels like everybody's here.
Well, I mean, this is what it was. Faulty splits. That bottom right side of the map, so contested, and we've seen how crazy it gets, even from Frenzy. Everyone's in a mishmash. The top left side of the map has been composed. We have, I think, the most duels all the way across Breakwater down to the south, but they've all kind of bided their own time, especially in the north. This time, though, they've had enough. They don't care. They're tired of all the attacks from long ranges. Reason taken down, and we're not going to ignore the greatness from this duel that we've seen all throughout the weekend. Them holding on, having that big lead, one of the biggest we've seen inside FNCS coming into day 2. But unfortunately, trying to maintain that, trying to climb back, has made them falter. Now down to what looks like 3rd place, Janice and Reason will be taken out due to their aggressive playstyle in that last game.
But for Queasy and Vino, that will be joy, good news, a chance to claim 3rd place, and it won't be quite what they want. They want at least the top 2 to secure that spot in globals, but at least 3rd place would be a big bump in prize earnings.
It's a game of redemption for the whole lobby. Queasy Vino get to finally break off on that head-to-head and get 3rd. Savage and ZX as well, finally taking down Kaden Kupov spawn. That's been a 24-game fight, it feels like, let alone 12 games. Nebs and Pink as well on a north side rotation. Get to climb far and by themselves, uninterrupted. The top 2, though, where they base up will dictate exactly how this game goes. The deep half of day 2, the last 3 games of this competition, I mentioned it before, there have been a lot of surge issues. And with this game being that much more aggressive, yes, those surge counters might not be as high, but there'll be less players to be able to shoot all the way around them. Curious to see if Malabuka or Merstash have that damage down just yet.
And what we've seen from Queasy all season long, positioned here, up on this hill, Vino on the other one, a bit further to the north. This has been the typical split we've seen for them to base up for Surge. It's worked so effectively all season long. And it needs to work here in game 12. Vanyak up against the Lucy and a big shot connecting, making it look easy. That was a left-hander as well. And right next to the reboot van to pick his teammate back up. And it will be way deep in the zone, but still a chance for them in this game.
So much to quantify inside this game. Taco, we need some help.
Look, Shio, we were just on the man himself, but Tayson and Mustache, Malabuka and Thomas HD, it is coming down to the wire for first and second place finish between these two duos. And when you see the top two teams, both with Shockwave hammers in their inventory, you have to assume that absolute chaos is going to be what ensues between these two for the leaderboard spots.
Chaos indeed, but I would even say structure, Taco, because them both having hammers now means rotations are guaranteed.
Rotations have been easy for them all day long. They've not had problems in that regard. My worry is what happens when it comes to the end game. We've seen them in so many of these games, side by side. They're playing on similar layers. They're taking each other out in some games. In a lot of games now, they've taken each other out. But with just how close it is between them in the standings, if that was to happen, it would be the decider. It would be the end.
Ah, goosebumps.
Goosebumps, man, goosebumps.
3 times it's been Mustache and Malabuka back-to-back, or 2 times, and then once Tayson versus Malabuka. These teams have gone head-to-head over and over, as Levin is mentioning. And it's almost a game of roulette in terms of who gets these elims down below. If one team slightly presses the D key or their controller shifts to the right, it's Thomas's. If it goes towards the left, Tayson claims it in a flash.
And it's just a contrast between the styles we see, right? In some games, it's Thomas and Malabuka, a bit scuffed, lurking on the backside of the zone, just trying to frag out as best as possible. With Tayson and Mustache front side, claiming space, playing things to the book. And in other games, it's swapped completely the other way around. Tayson and Mustache looking scuffed
So
on the
good.
backside, right? So it literally goes either way.
And if they make a mistake, it's Squeezy and Vino on height. It's the Bermuda Triangle of EU that end up just shooting these guys down, causing the most unlucky situations for every single team. They have to be vigilant of all layers. Seti and Cammy not really seen many end games inside this competition. They've been in a few, but off-spawn issues overall. I mean, I would say the most upset prediction of all. A lot of people had Seti Cammy doing well. Some people would argue the rivalry of EU between...
Ain't no rivalry. There ain't no rivalry between Cammy, Seti, Queasy, Vino. Let's stop this now. Yes, a brilliant fight in the Invitational to close things out. There ain't no rivalry there.
There definitely is one here right now. We have switched up the leaderboard update. It is just 2 teams. Ex-teammates. It's not just the Axe of Champions. It's not just the prize money. It's who carried who. It's who's better. Who's truly built different? Who cost more games? Who's the better man?
Who holds the bragging rights? That's what we're playing for between those 2 teams. So much history between them. So much history in Fortnite. Those 4 players account for so much of competitive EU history that no matter which way the story goes, it's one we'll talk about for years and years to come.
Cutting the tension real quick. Double medal from Queasy out of the chest. That's some good RNG. Back in it, Tayson Mustache. Already inside circle. We're ending at Brutal Bastion. I feel like this is where the entire FNCS began.
I swear we've been so many times in these games, not just here in the final, but throughout Surge Week and the qualifiers as well. And with Tayson and Mustache just 19 above Surge, this is not a comfortable spot to be in a game where they have to be at their very best. They have to have the best game possible.
We talk about these games where they have control, they're on that front side, they're not shambles. It's games where they have power. It's games where they can think. They can kind of plan and plot where they want to go. When they're just 19 above Surge, that's not a possibility. They have to base their game plan off of where other teams are. They have to look for shots first and think about winning the game second. And having the win as your second priority, that's not key to success.
Especially in this one. I'll be very curious to see where Malabuka and Thomas stand in terms of Storm Surge as well, where they are above the threshold. Because if they're in a similar spot to Tayson and Mustache, then that's cool. Then it's just a battle of who does get that damage first, who can get that refresh, that boost in Surge.
And the zone couldn't be more even either. Both teams slightly landing far away from it. 214 above for Thomas HD and Malabuka. That might just be enough as a difference maker. And the big thing, they're sharing the same type of side of the zone. They pull the next one as well. Thomas could very well hold Tayson from making this next rotation.
They set up center third, and they're rewarded with the fourth zone. This is where they want to be. This is the perfect position, like you said, to just hold teams from getting in. Tayson and Mustache, they're trying to get in as fast as possible. And they will get in without taking too much damage and without having to use too much mats either.
Insanity.
Perfect rotations from these two. But that's another hero there. They've done that all day long, all season long. It's all about doing that critical piece of damage to put them in a more comfortable position for Surge.
We've seen big stalemates between those two teams as well. From the 4th all the way to the 6th, 7th zone, sometimes they only deal damage and they're not able to finish any knocks they have down low. If they go 0 for 0, they're right beside each other. It's gonna be Tayson with the lead. They're just 3 points ahead right now. Thomas needs to find an Elam to have that ever slight crack right in front of the duo in speed on score. So Tayson's still kind of dictating the pace, although they're ever so tied. Kyrie and Pink winning one of the games where these guys had a crazy bout side by side. It's like the referee just knocking out both boxers. They have a chance of high ground again. The ref might win.
These guys, when given the opportunity to play it, they won't shy away. We've seen them win a game from that position. And the setup here has been great from them. 600 above, using that bush at the top of their base, a bit of extra cover. And shields when they get tagged with that bush warrior augment. Thomas and Malabuka, of course, 200 above, which is a bit better than what we saw from Tayson and Mustache, but still not comfortable. You still need to deal some damage.
They can do it from range. From what I saw from Tayson and Mustache, it was desperation. 19 above, what are they at now? 222!
Both sitting rather evenly in Surge as well. Both evenly matched coming into this endgame. Who will pull the 50-50 zone? That 5th zone is so crucial.
They're both on the same side. If you're looking at the mini-map, the coolest thing is the least colorful arrows. Thomas and Malabuka are the brown ones sitting at the south there. Replay for Resguard, Halnada. Inside the box, he stays resilient with the shots. Resguard finds a few. Able to take out Dark Chips, formerly known as T-Chips for the moment. Halnada down now, as the rest of the lobby, the 10th, the 15th, 20th, 40th places, all make room for this big bout. The main card to have their match at the top. And the zone, when I look at it, pulls away from both teams. They are being tested. Max rotation on ice towards the Bastion.
Queasy and Vino are down, and they didn't quite get enough points to overtake Janice and Reason. Just 2 points behind, they sit in 4 for the day. But like Shayo said, a rotation will have to be made here by both of these teams. Unfortunately, both have hammers, and so it won't be too tough of a task. Tayson and Mustache just going unscathed, nobody even looking at them as they make their way in.
They moved in so far in first. I think Malabuka Thomas are still way far back, and the zone's almost overtaken them. They're going for damage. Looking for it now. Not flying in just yet. They're right beside each other. Malabuka lost a lot of shield, though. He's going to be able to stay safe. Side by side, first and second, staring each other down. Do they know it? Box to box.
They may not know it, but we do. And we already know how much they've interacted throughout this tournament. So close together, so close in the standings.
Queasy and Vito might not be here, but Firebro and Grolls, an absolute force to be reckoned with on height. They make it punishing if you make a mistake. So this is not going to be free in terms of pressure for either Tayson, Malabuka, Thomas, or Mustache. They'll look to punish as much as possible for a chance to further their position in the leaderboard as well. Up the prize money, up their overall social rankings, you know how people view them coming into Major 2. And now the zones start to move. Same stakes for Tayson and Mustache. They were playing opposite sides of the zone with Thomas and Malabuka so far. Now they will move in tandem, side by side. A single wall misplaced might be a shot from second to first. And already Tayson's in trouble.
Gruden just applying a bit of pressure. Tayson wanting to get a clearer path so that when the time comes to hammer, they don't get stuck beneath a hill, stuck beneath builds. Thomas and Malabuka, they're now starting to make their move. Couldn't quite scout as much, but still now even getting broken out. Oh dear! This is not okay. Thomas just has to hammer out
No!
an emergency procedure.
And he's all the way in. Almost falling off the cliff, but he finds a build to actually latch onto. Malabuka, can you follow? Absolutely you can. These are some of the best players in Europe. And now finally side by side, unfortunately, it's not the plan to where they want to be. Tayson and Mustache, they're executing flawlessly, but they're down below Surge. Their position, absolutely powerful, but they're not finding any shots. Nothing to fully see. Thomas taking out a few. Vexy gone away. Malabuka in trouble. Max shot side by side. They have a few refreshes, but Malabuka's also trapped in the box. It's chaos. They can't see. Thomas is down. Malabuka is going to be able to actually almost pick one up. The conversion is going to be there. He's out of ammo on almost everything. Has to reload. It's all up to him. Now it's Savage that he takes down. Hammer in the inventory. He's making sure everything is clean. Going in and out. The redeploy's there for him. He has all the tools to make the solo clutch a possibility. It's him right now in the driver's seat.
He's got the hammer, he's got the surge, and he's got so many builds. But it's all on him, the pressure is there. Chasing him, they're still a duo.
Head on points to Malabuka. Pushing forward, Mustache falls! Malabuka versus Tayson. He hammers closer to heights. All the way to the front quarter zone. Both so healthy on mats. This will come down to some of the final moments, but Malabuka falls down. Every hammer, a risk for them. They have to double up on boxes. Tayson moves forward again. Malabuka towards that top side. Tayson on a box beside Bevies. It's trouble. Knocking at his door. Tayson taking out at 50 HP. Malabuka looking safe. He makes a few boxes. Bevies is still holding him down. Running out of mats for Tayson. He has to switch layers, but pre-fire shots from all sides. Tayson in trouble. In a blender right now. Let's find a way to get things through. Malabuka absolutely peachy up top. Setting down traps. Tayson has a chance to breathe. Fireball rolls, not stopping the pressure. Tayson flies all the way in front. No match now. Tayson needs this elimination to stay in the game. And he finds it on the Marius. The GOAT continues his reign, staying in front of the competition, but unaware of where the teammate is. Malabuka, delayed for a long time on the top right. Has to move now. Tayson, a lot of mats. Charges refilled. He pushes forward, straight into a box. Ignores everything because he prefers position. He prefers to live, and he can land the shot, but once again, finds himself on a low point, 48 HP. Malabuka is absolutely stress-free in his position. Tayson, though, up ahead in terms of elims and points. It will be Malabuka who has to make the first move. Tayson, with that lead, both players getting a chance to breathe. Malabuka with a duo below him. Tayson still looking on the right side. Can't find much just yet. High point of elevation, Malabuka gets dropped. Malabuka in trouble. One player below him, low HP, can't edit the floor, has to hammer all the way out. Tayson on the backside of his own. No mats left. Tayson hung high to dry. Malabuka on his last mats as well. Both so close to the demise. Malabuka in the box. It's done.
That's why he's the GOAT. Tayson stays alive when it shouldn't be possible. And now he just needs to keep on racking points. He needs to stay alive. Fred's on the other side of that wall. He just needs to stay quiet. As long as nobody notices, and he's good, but he falls as well. Tayson versus Malabuka at the end there. Everything riding on those moments. But the game still continues. Grows and Fire. They've held hype for a while now. And they're still going to look to close out that game. Seti and Cammy, maybe a little too late for them. But they are down here, and they are taking people out. They need to start claiming space now, though. A lot of these builds are not theirs, and there will be players dropping. There will be opportunities to pick up some more limbs. There's a player count dwindles Mappy in this one, but slowly falling. He might not be able to reach the top there with that hammer.
Has a chance, though. Brutal Bastion, bounce back and forth. Fireball and grows, the only constant that survives. Heat rises, and they're on fire up top. Cammy, Seti, Mappy, put in the oven. They can't stand it. Jump all the way down below. Mappy can't live through the pressure. Seti and Cammy now finally alive as they should be in EU. And this might be a salvage situation for their overall placement. Absolute redemption for Rose and Firebro up top. Having this win could cement them as threats coming into Major 2. The final game of EU goes down to a 2v2.
Rose and Fire up above with Cammy and Seti down below. They're farming every single bit of material they can. Grows using the bush to drop down and knock them way into the storm. He uses that shockwave hammer to perfection. Seti's down on HP, but Grows finally falls as well. It's Fire versus Cammy. Cammy in the storm. Fire doesn't know where he is, and he's not gonna find him either. Cammy's way deep in there. The Siphon will get his HP back up, and he's gonna chase, he's gonna hunt. Does Cammy have enough though, in terms of heals? No, he does not. He will fall. Fire will take it. Groves will take it. A 6 elimination victory out will be huge for their story. But Shia, all anybody's thinking about right now is who is the champion? Is it Tayson? Is it Malabuka? Both teams doing everything they could in those final moments. And what a game that was, so intense between the two. Fire winning out from above, making great use of the Shockwave Hammer. We've seen it play such a key part of these end games all season long. Groves just knocking them way in there, and they did have enough heals to outlast.
Absolutely bonkers, especially from Groves. The option to fall from height onto a bush, use the hammer, slam to send his opponents in the storm. As nail-biting as the 2v2 that we followed all game. What a journey, what a story for Groves and Fire there towards the end. I absolutely love it. The main question is on hand though, Levin, what we're seeing right now. So close neck and neck. Both their duos had some elims before they fell. And who knows what happens in those end moments. It's very close between those two top teams.
It literally does not get closer than this. The best players in the world all battling it out. After the season we've had, I'm literally just waiting. I just need to see it. I need to see it because honestly, for both of these teams, we set up the stories all game long. Like, it means so much for both sides. Everybody wants to win. All their fans want them to win. It is so intense now, Shia.
It's perfect. It's not even two separate teams. It's two duos that played together and now are apart. We have to know, Frankie, Takada, Mini Miner, who has won this FNCS?
Going into game number 12, there were just 3 points separating our top 2 duos on the leaderboard, and now we can reveal there's just 1 point between it, and your champions of Major number 1 are Murstache and Tayson. Tayson cementing his status as one of the GOATs of the games, leading Murstache to his first FNCS Grand Final. They're the kings of consistency, playing so well, whatever position they find themselves in, and they've been rewarded with the Axe of Champions and a spot in the Global Championships. And you called it, Mini Miner.
This is why we watch. This is why we love Fortnite, because 1 point is all that separated Tayson and Murstache from Thomas HD and Malabuka. We have to give both duos credit as to how well they played, especially in that last game. Neck and neck performance, seeing them both on the screen at the same time. I loved that.
Look, the way Malabuka went down as well was because he wasn't able to finish off that one elimination. Yeah. If he got that elimination, it would have been enough. But now Tayson showing why he's the GOAT. Now as well, Murstache getting his first place finish in an FNCS Grand Finals, and we've seen the GOAT Tayson online, but now that he's taken home the Axe of Champions today, it also means we're gonna see him in the Global Championship, and I'm curious to see if he's gonna continue that GOAT status in person.
This is a duo that placed in the top 10, I believe, across all 6 games yesterday. I think they probably did the same again today. They never got unlucky, but it wasn't really a question of luck. It was skill all the way. Their game plans are so well thought out.
Yeah, they are, and finally, they've figured it out. We've talked about it all season. They've been a little bit hot and cold. They've had really, really solid games on high, and then not so great games going down to Surge. Now, where it matters most, on the big stage, Tayson does it again, and alone, as a solo, clutching up so many times today. We've seen it throughout the whole day, and again, where it mattered most, he was cool as a cucumber. He was perfect in that last game.
You said it yourself, Mini Miner. They were hot and cold throughout this season, but they made it happen in Day 2 Grand Finals. Day 1, they were a little shooken up, but Day 2, they focused, they adapted, and it led to them picking up that Axe of Champions.
It's incredible though. There's $200,000 on the line. They've just earned themselves that place in the Global Championships. Obviously the Axe of Champions as well. And the way that Tayson played in those final couple of zones, it was like there was absolutely no fear. Aerialing around like no one was going to be able to get a shot on him.
Levin said it himself. That is why he is the GOAT. Because he doesn't let those outside, external, third-party, exogenous effects affect him. It doesn't matter. Because he is in the zone. He's focusing on it, and he has picked up yet another FNCS title.
He was locked in. Those last moments, you could tell that Tayson was locked in. But I also want to speak on Malabuka Thomas HD. Remember, there are 2 spots for the Global Championship in EU. So both Merstash and Tayson, and also Malabuka and Thomas HD, will be qualified to the Global Championship. And they're going to get to go head-to-head once again.
I'm so happy for him. Honestly, Malabuka solo clutching right there. He wouldn't have known that Tayson was still hanging on by a thread, picking up eliminations and refreshes, but he did so well. I'm such a big fan of this duo, and I have no doubt that if they do stick together, they'll go to even bigger heights than this in Major 2, Major 3, and in Global Championships.
I can't wait to see how they play on lap.
Yeah.
I'm so excited. I'm hoping we get to see them positioned side by side because of the fact that these duos do have history with each other. I'll be really curious to know if they're messaging each other right now, congratulating each other, or whether they need a little bit of time to cool down, because it must be kind of hard coming so close to the top spot. But obviously they've gained really big rewards as well in booking that global championship place. But right now, let's remind ourselves of the action today with our fabulous caster Shayo and 11-2K.
Thank you so much, Frankie. I mean, now, Levin, I'm just flabbergasted still from that game. Lots of competition that happened all across the world, though. From Europe to start things off, or just to end things off here, Tayson Merstash, congratulations once again. East, West, and Brazil will continue very soon, but from Asia 11, we still had some big winners.
Look, Pipo and Zagu, they have been dominant in Asia all major long. Very excited to see them at the Globals at the end of the year. Zagu obviously impressed the world back then, playing with a new teammate now in Pipo. It's going to be a good time.
Absolutely. From Oceania as well, Sun's Thug and on Thug as well. Rocked it in, looked really good the entire time too. Very nice. In Middle East, you can't forget Twist and Rapid looking so nice from their region too. I mean, all across the board, these are big names to look out for at those global championships.
Yeah, super happy for my boy Rapid from Middle East as well. I've met him, right? Super nice guy, definitely deserves it, works hard. Gonna be good to see them at Globals.
Absolutely. I mean, this is just, I think, one of the best FNCSs we've seen start off so far. Usually, the first one is where some of the middling things are happening. People are getting used to the meta overall. Shockwave hammers Takata, right? Big 2-on-2 battles towards the end. In the final game, you can't ask for more.
I was literally biting my nails. I was watching both of you call it, and I was seeing Malabuka. I was seeing Tayson going head-to-head. That last elimination that Malabuka just missed out on, it was incredible.
It always delivers, doesn't it? The final day, the final game always delivers. Think back to Invitational. We touched on it at the beginning of the weekend. How good was that? And yet again, it's happened. We've seen a crazy last game clutch from 2 of the greatest players in the region.
But this is just the first major of the year, guys. The skill ceiling is going to be raised. This is a new map for Chapter 4. We're going to see so much more, I imagine, from all of these duos.
It's crazy. You know, the script writers, you know, props to you. You got to give you a round of applause. It is ridiculous. 1 point separating those teams. I'm honestly like, Tayson, how he stays alive for that long. He had no business doing that. But again, it's why I say that's why he's the MVP. That's why he's the GOAT. That is why he is the GOAT. Nobody can do that. It's Tayson magic.
It might just be, honestly, check everything about him. See the setup, see what's up, because he has something no one else has, right? That natural talent honed in. Talking about last chapter, some people not even tuning into how well he was doing. Now, I think that's silenced, absolutely. Starting off the year, winning the major.
I don't want to put salt in the wound, but Thomas HD, whoever's cursed him, please, just allow my boy. Please allow my boy. 2 points away, basically, from being a champion. How many times is he going to come so close? This guy deserves it, man. You know, hopefully he's not too down in the dumps in terms of... I know how much he wants to win. He's so passionate about winning everything he does.
It's not just that. All the new players we saw, right, come in. So many people off that first day just continued to survive top 10 in the second day. That was beautiful from EU.
Yeah, it really was. And this is just a contrary to what we've seen in previous seasons. We've seen so many of the top dogs doing well across the whole weekend. Now we're seeing some new faces maybe to look out for in future majors, and maybe the global championships towards the end of the year. It's going to be great to see because so many new names.
Look, Tayson, we know him as the GOAT. He does exceptionally well, especially in online tournaments, but now I want to see him perform the same at the global championship. His experience now in this in-person event, I want to see him take it home.
You heard the guys. This is just the beginning. Season 1 may be done for Chapter 4, but we've got plenty more to come. But before we go, we've got to say a massive congratulations to your major champions, Tayson and Merstash. And we will see you guys on the battle bus.
Let's go!